Linda Cullen is a Twin Cities professional photographer, but for the past 7 years, she spent most of her time living in danger spots around the world, places like Iraq and Afghanistan. She has a very exciting story to tell. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I'm seeing you wearing with your blonde tresses, and I'm aware that where you have been and will continue to go, it's simply not advisable to be showing your blonde hair because it could create all sorts of major problems, right?
It could. Like
in Iraq. Well, let's start with Iraq. For example, in Iraq, you had to wear the burqa, right?
I didn't wear burqa. I don't wear burqa.
What did you wear? Because I know you had to be unisex.
Yeah, I dress very respectfully and you know, stay covered. And in Islamic countries, I pull my hair back and wear a hijab.
Now, you were there during some very severe fighting,
yes.
And you weren't there at all in connection with the armed forces. You were on your own. You were working for some group. What were you? Who were you working for?
Yeah, I was actually working for a high-risk security company, and I was helping to train bodyguards.
But you actually had...
And taking photos.
You had bodyguards, didn't you?
Yeah, I had bodyguards 24 hours a day.
How many bodyguards did you have to recruit?
I guess we had about 100.
But you personally had what?
I had about 3, 4 with me all the time. If I went out, I had more, but if I was in the house, I had at least 2 with me all the time.
And there were bombings all around where you were living.
Yeah, it's a difficult place. You never relax.
You had to be very, very careful.
Very careful.
Oh my, that was very intrepid of you.
It's stressful.
Well, then you have shifted gears and you have developed a humanitarian project which is really remarkable. It's called 50 Lanterns. How did it happen?
It happened during a time I was working in Afghanistan, during the elections. I guess it was about 3 years ago now. I was working with a particular group of women, 50 of them, and every night we had to go to bed very early because there was no electricity. I literally had a light bulb moment during one of those times, laying there being, not having anything to do and being unproductive, and was able to come home and raise enough funds to go back with 50 solar lanterns for those 50 women that I was working with, the widows, and hence the name 50 Lanterns.
Ah, very clever. That was a real lantern. What do you call it? A lantern moment?
A light bulb moment.
Light bulb moment. Well, now why do we take? Now this is what you are using for your humanitarian project. You're recruiting dollars so that these lanterns and flashlights can go into these remote areas where there is no light whatsoever, and the people will be able to carry on life at night and not just go to bed at 6 in the evening.
That's right. With the solar-powered lamps and flashlights, we're able to help them be more productive. The money that they were spending on kerosene and candles can now be redirected to other things, medical needs and food. And the children are able to read at night, so it's very important.
Oh, heavens, yes.
We really are able to change someone's life in a positive way with these lamps.
So it's solar, which means what? You keep it outside during the day,
yes.
And it recharges, and at night it works.
Exactly.
And this goes on forever.
It goes on for a very long time. Yes, it's wonderful.
So this is the lantern.
This is the lantern
and that's the solar.
This is the panel. And it just plugs into the front of the lamp, and they give it an all-day charge, and they'll get 6, 7, 8 hours of light at night, depending on which setting they have it on.
And now that takes care of, it could be an entire tent for light. Now this flashlight, which incidentally is, we own it now, we bought it for the occasion, and this is for an individual person who can read with it. That's and so on. Okay.
Yep, we call it the BOGO light, and it's buy one, give one. So people can order them from our website, and for $25 you get one, but one also comes to the organization for distribution.
And the lantern is $50.
And the lantern we don't sell outright, but we take donations.
Well, let's take a look. Now we have some great photos you brought us that sort of shows what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at these. So here we go. Now, right here, where are we here, first of all?
We are up in the mountains in Pakistan, in northern Pakistan, and that was one of the lantern distributions that I was able to do during the earthquake.
All right, let's move on now to see what, And what's happening? And this again is distribution, isn't it?
It is, and this was actually the very first distribution. And some of these widows, this was the first 50.
Is this Kabul now?
Yeah, this is outside of Kabul, and this is our first 50.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now here again, this lady is demonstrating. Where
That's
are we
right.
here?
We're once again in Pakistan, and after the earthquake, 3.3 million people were without homes, and most were living in tents.
And this is living in the tents,
Yep,
isn't it?
this was her tent with her family.
So it takes care of, like, and here's a little kid showing the same thing. It's also Afghanistan?
It actually is in Kashmir.
Kashmir, okay. And, change of pace. There's a bombing, car bombing. Where is this?
Oh, yes, this is outside of my house in Baghdad.
And, of course, bombing very near your house.
Very near, yeah, every day.
And here we are.
We're in a refugee camp in Rwanda.
And here we have a very sick man. Is this again a refugee situation?
It is a refugee situation. Very few people realize that there is a lot of refugees from the Iraq War. And this was actually in a place called No Man's Land between Jordan and Iraq.
And what is happening
We're
here?
back up in Pakistan again, doing a lantern distribution. I deliver every lantern myself, personally, so that I can assure the donors that the solar lamps are getting to those most vulnerable and most in need.
No corruption allowed.
No.
Oh,
and the
very
only way
good.
I can assure that is to be there myself.
Okay. And now, this is interesting. What is happening here?
Well, at every lantern distribution, we need to get an ID, or in this case, we got thumbprints. Most of my recipients are illiterate, and so we make sure we get a thumbprint from them.
And here we are.
This is my coffee growers in Rwanda.
Oh, yes. Now, tell me about that quickly.
I'm working with a group of coffee growers in a particular co-op in Rwanda. Over half the coffee growers were killed in the genocide. And what we're able to do is, there's a man here, Greg Hoyt, who owns Bull Run Roasters. He brings in the coffee beans from Rwanda from this particular group of growers. He roasts them. I get them at cost, and 100% of the proceeds go back into providing solar lighting for these particular coffee growers. It's just fabulous, and it's great coffee.
This costs $10?
$10 a bag, yes. They can order from our website.
So the website, if people want to give money, they go to the website, and the prices again are $10 for the coffee, $25 for the
BOGO light,
and a donation of $50 to the lantern.
Correct.
And so far you have sent out how many?
So far, 880 lanterns have been distributed.
It's a marvelous program.
Yeah,
we want to thank you
wonderful.
very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking to Linda Cullen, who's got a very inspiring story going in terms of her 50 Lanterns Foundation.